We're seeing a resurgence of anamorphic adapters, but not really any type of adapter. It's all about the only type of adapter we never had a lot before. Iskorama style single focus adapters. Not a double focus, ruin your life and your schedule kind of thing. And the latest addition to our options is Sirui's. It kind of started with Greyjoy's gimmick to improve their 60mm 1.33 lens. Everyone was tired of 1.33 lenses, so the adapter had an additional 1.35 squeeze, which turned the lens into 1.8 times. Cool. But the coolest part is it turned the lens from synchro focus, variable squeeze factor, into a variable diopter setup, which kept squeeze constant. This was the closest thing to an Iskorama to hit the market since the mid to late 60s. The vast majority of anamorphic adapters between then and now were restricted by ISKO's patent and could not be single focus right out of the box. Greyjoy's adapter weighed a ton though, and the 1.35 squeeze was quite odd. Still, it was cheap enough that lots of adapter fans got into it, not only as a way to boost other anamorphics, like Sirui's Super 35 set, but to simply use it on spherical lenses and get a little bit of squeeze, a little bit of flare. Funny enough, Iskorama's made a comeback shortly after with ISKO for All, which at its core is a copy of the Iskorama 54 multi-coated, with little flares, not great minimum focus, and still advertises 1.5 times squeeze when the actual value is 1.42. Nope, they didn't bother adjusting that. More recently, we had Moment's 1.33 adapter, which is also single focus, but this time with a more established squeeze factor. Not that 1.35 and 1.33 are that big of a difference though. This one was aimed at turning sphericals into anamorphic instead of boosting another anamorphic lens, adding a tiny bit of oval bokeh and neat warm flares. Again, a pretty heavy adapter and pricey too. Now, Sirui is introducing their own adapter, this 1.25 times variable diopter front, designed to match Sirui's own 1.6 times squeeze full frame set. The math for stacking anamorphics works by multiplying the squeeze factors. And when you multiply 1.6 by 1.25, you get 2 times squeeze. The adapter has 82mm rear threads, as well as 82mm threads in the front, which goes really well with their full frame lenses. When paired together, the whole thing still has a unified look. The front's outer diameter is 85mm, which is still standard for matte boxes and clamp-on accessories. Minimum focus comes down to 80 centimeters, or 2'7", overriding the lens's original minimum focus. And that's an improvement on all of this set's minimum focus, except the 50mm, which can focus 2 inches closer than that. The adapter is being launched along with the 35 and 100mm 1.6 times lenses at the discount price of $429, which, let's agree, is pretty cheap for adapters in general. Sirui's adapter has a geared focus ring and a super good alignment system with a very clear and smooth red button that sort of reminds me of the original Iskorama. Pressing it allows you to rotate the adapter without letting it loose from the taking lens. By using this adapter, you sort of swap many of the main issues I have with Sirui's full frame set in exchange for other types of issues. So let's see what those are. The number one issue that's being solved for good is the changing squeeze factor. Since you're setting your lens at infinity and moving focusing to the adapter, there's no more movement in the anamorphic block, and the squeeze becomes constant. If you want to understand more how anamorphics focus, check out Module 2 of the Anamorphic Cookbook. In terms of performance, the adapter causes a little loss of sharpness towards the corners, and the glass is large enough to prevent any light loss on a variety of lenses, even some featuring large fronts. I managed to get it working on a Contax 50, performing acceptably all the way to f1.4. It also covers the entire frame, open gate, with 35mm, but you will start to see vignetting creeping in as you stop down. Turning the lenses from 1.6 times to 2 times squeeze is definitely a big plus, giving you a stronger anamorphic look alongside squeezier bokeh. But introducing the extra squeeze doesn't come without sacrifices. First, adding the adapter in front of your system will limit your field of view on the wider lenses. For example, in the full-frame set, the 35 and 50mm lenses will no longer be able to clear a full-frame sensor because of the mechanical vignette introduced by the adapter. These lenses are now restricted to Super 35 coverage, like I am filming right now. The 75 and 100mm are fine on full-frame still, since they have longer focal lengths. Even more troubling, you're adding another 650 grams, or just under a pound and a half, to the front of your system. On the 100mm lens, which is already pretty long and heavy, this creates a strong lever effect onto your camera mount. Yes, Siri's adapter is much lighter than the alternatives, but it's still a lot of weight. That's the thing with adapters in general. Next issue, now the position of the focus ring changes according to the length of the lens being used. And not only that, the adapter changes size while focusing, making the use of a matte box more challenging. Another new issue is if you rush things, you might end up with less than perfect alignment. You always align an adapter by its flares and straight lines. Yes, the button is great and super easy to use, but getting perfect alignment will always be a challenge.
It feels like you're almost there, maybe just a little more that way.
Moreover, 1.25 times is an unusual squeeze. Sure thing, Tarantino used Panavision lenses with 1.25 times squeeze on the Hateful Eight, but those are completely different from what we have at hand here. If you're pairing Siri's adapter with a spherical lens, you'll need a monitor with custom D-squeeze values. If you're pairing this with 1.33 lenses, the resulting squeeze is 1.66, which is even weirder. So the choice of compression for this adapter doesn't make for straightforward monitoring unless you're using it with Siri's 1.6 times set. It's important to be aware of these new challenges if you're planning to work with this new piece of gear. The way I'm putting this might be a bit of a downer, but it's just the nature of adapters. All things considered, for an adapter, this is a pretty good option. If you want to understand more of my position regarding adapters, stay tuned for my upcoming episode, Everything Wrong with Anamorphic Adapters, where we'll go into plenty of issues in detail. For now, I'd love to hear your ideas about Siri's pack to boost their squeeze. Is this something you will add to your setup? I guess not all of these issues are such a big deal for everyone. Are any of them a deal breaker to you? Which one? And which ones are you happy dealing with? As usual, it was great fun hanging out with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Chito Ferradans, out.